stop, won't stop, can't stop, won't stop, can't stop, won't stop, can't stop, won't stop.
3, 2, 1. What is up, everybody? You are listening, you are watching to the Constant Elevation Podcast. I am your host, Gabe Rock. We are back. Took a break last week. I went TDY, so first time to Boston was pretty dope. Actually, somehow amongst all of the, I'll talk about work stuff in a little bit, but like I ended up kind of wandering around the city. May or may not have gone to some sneaker stores. May or may not have accidentally run into Fenway Park, the TD, is it TD Center? That's where the Boston Celtics play, and as well as the Boston Bruins ice skating arena. Kind of cool. But definitely had appreciation for Boston. It was kind of interesting just being in places where that at one point in time for about maybe 3 weeks or something like that, that was supposed to be where we were headed after our Fort Meade tour. And long story short, we ended up here at Langley. So as I was driving around, I got hooked up with a sweet, man, you know what I really like? New stuff. I like new cars. We ended up getting a rental car, and usually, when you go through DTS, you get whatever the cheapest compact car you're going to get. And so as I'm going through, you got to wait in line, then at the counter, then eventually you wait in line in the garage. And so there was 10, 11 people in front of me. And one of the ladies, whoever the attendant was, they're like, hey, so if anybody wants a minivan, you can leave right now at no extra charge. And nobody raised their hand. I was like, say less. Yes, I will take a minivan. And because I always wanted to drive one. It was a 2023. It was awesome. A brand new Chrysler Pacifica. Oh my goodness. Everything was integrated with my phone. The speaker was bumping. I had really good AC. I had 17 cup holders. I was the only one in the car. Whatever. It was amazing. And so just new stuff was nice. And the building that we worked on Tuesday was really nice. It's not like a traditional Air Force building. It was actually contracted out. It's off, at least I should say. And it's off base, and it just is built like one of those more corporate kind of places. It's just new. I work in a legacy building here on Langley, and we live in one of the legacy houses here in senior officer housing, aka they're old and they're whack. But it is what it is. Nobody's complaining. Well, no, I'm complaining. But the idea of just having new stuff when I was TDY was really, really nice. And so, but yeah, glad to be back here. Back where by the time you're listening to this, we're already going to be real close into July. And so kind of crazy. The weather, hopefully, I know there's a lot of heat waves going across the nation right now. So hopefully you're staying safe and cool. But yeah, definitely was happy to go TDY. Probably going to end up having to make another trip up to Hanscom, maybe next, whatever, the fourth quarter. I have a feeling I'm going to be going between San Antonio and Hanscom once a quarter, kind of between those two cities. And if I find satellite offices, just because of the nature of the job kind of it makes sense to have face-to-face kind of conversations. There's a lot of times you can get a lot of work done if you just take the time to just, that what I want to talk about this week is staying a task focus within the team. So the whole catalyst for me going up to Hanscom was actually, we called it the comply to connect lock-in. Essentially, yes, like a lock-in, like back in the day, when you bring your sleeping bags or all the movies and you play Mortal Kombat all night. We really had to go and just lock ourselves in a room, a small room, right? We had maybe 12, 15 people in there. And it's a conference room, whatever. And so between the people in the room, we had to make sure that we had to develop an enterprise solution. And as we went in there, I ended up being, I guess you call it the senior principal. That there was another SES and 06 with me, but me representing lead command, I kind of set the tone. And so staying task focused as a team was very, very important. I said, hey, we are not going to leave this room until we're done. I believe all of us have been read in on some of the earlier products and processes. We're not going to sit here and admire the problem. We'll spend some time analyzing the history where we're at now, but I need the team to come up with some creative solutions how we can develop the enterprise way ahead. And so we did, we had some conversations, a lot of technical people understanding what are the requirements we need to hit per DoD CIO, which are fine. And so and arguably the Air Force was behind compared to the other services in achieving these and meeting these requirements. So we started sketching things out, and, there were some assumptions, and it was just interesting, just kind of as you navigate the energy of the room where people are like, well, I've been doing this. It's just weird. You ended up getting some people saying, I've been doing this since 10 years ago or blah, blah. Nope, this is not a flexing time. This is not a time for you to try and impress a room full of your peers of your technical prowess. Nobody cares. I just wanted to solve the problem. And so there was a point in time where I actually told the team, I was like, it was right before lunch, and I was like, hey, we have 45 minutes left because we're going to lunch at 12. depending on how the conversation went. And so I kept on going. And every once in a while, I have to tell people, hey, you need to stay on task. You are taking a left turn. You're actually talking about something different. You're not focusing on the task at hand. So right before lunch, I was like, all right, cool. So I need someone to explain to me why I'm not going to go with this course of action. We'll just call it COA 1, because that's what I'm going to decide upon. You have to convince me overwhelmingly as to why I should not go with that in 45 minutes before we start this 1:00. And so people are like, oh crap. I was like, no, I'm not kidding. Like, I told you that we're going to get after this. And so finally, we had some follow-on discussions, and I totally understand that people just want to be heard. And so there were definitely some concerns about the direction we were going. It is what it is. And so I was like, all right, cool, but I still have to make a decision. To my knowledge, that's what I'm doing on behalf of Lead Command, is we have to just make a decision, get on with it for the enterprise solution. So, going once, going twice, and sold, done. Now we know we're going to move forward. And then, like usual, for me anyway, I end up having to, there's a whiteboard behind me. And so I started sketching out like the whole path. And that's where everybody got out of their seats. More markers were being drawn out, and we started kind of literally sketching out the timing and tempo of everything. What are some key components? We actually found like a critical path that needs to be followed, and so I don't believe the team, or maybe portions of the team, understood that dependency, but I didn't, and so it was like, oh, I didn't realize this was a big deal, so I have to make sure this is accounted for. So it was really good, just trying to, and I know that's I call it one of my superpowers, of being able to visualize some of the ideas and keeping a team focused on the task at hand, because it's important. And granted, I guess because of my position as representing Lead Command, I kind of have like 1% more say than everybody else. And so I understood that, but even in previous jobs where I'm trying to just articulate ideas and kind of going through my thought processes, I'm a visual person. So I'll spend time on whiteboarding, erasing, trying to get it right, getting other people to contribute there. And that's one of the strengths I believe I bring to a team. So I use that because, hey, so I'm going to, so we sketched out the whole plan, and everybody was taking pictures of the whole thing. I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty sure I know I can do it. So I'm going to turn this into the electronic version, and then I owe an out brief to my leadership. So I built I spent all day Wednesday and one meeting in the morning, spent all day Wednesday working on the briefing, and I knocked it all out. Sent it out on Friday. I said, hey, so I need feedback by Friday. I got a whole bunch of feedback just to sharpen up the whole deck, and I finished it by Monday morning. And so, I had a TDY on a Tuesday. By the following Monday, I basically finished the executive out brief of the purpose why I went there. So just staying, understanding how you need to be staying task focused even within the team. Part of that is, depending on what you bring to that team, you have to make sure that you kind of are you the technical person? All right, cool. Then your job is to make sure that when someone is making some broad assumptions and there's some details that need to be talked about, you're there to make sure that part of conversation happens. Or if we're talking about whose authority is to make certain decisions and maybe we need to bring it back to a higher level, then you're there representing that. And so by design, we brought all the people who needed to be part of the conversation into the room: technical people, authoritative people, visionary people, and then we were able to get work done. And so a very, very really great example of making progress together as a team, getting away from the electrons. We can only do so much over email and Teams. I think sometimes that locking yourself into a room with your fellow mission partners and just getting after the problem at hand is the way to do it. And so just understanding your strengths on the team. And I'll say that I sort of served as like a coach on the entire team, because I needed to make sure to facilitate the conversation. I also obviously had a certain degree of authority to make sure certain decisions were made, but I really saw myself as a coach facilitating the conversation in the room. And so I had a similar conversation. So some of our teammates at CrossFit Hampton Roads, next month, they're going to be participating in a four-person team competition. And I believe these 4 teammates, they haven't been on a team before. And I've coached many teams before. And we were doing a practice workout last weekend and found, I designed it to where when you do team workouts, there's certain things you have to do together as a team. Maybe you have to make some strategic decisions of, you're given 30 pull-ups or 50 wall balls, and you get to divide it up how you want. So what is a smart way to do that? And so when I started interfacing with the team, and after I coached their practice workout, I was talking to one of them, and she was like, yes. I was like, you okay? She's like, no, I just felt like I could have done better. I'm like, okay, like, what do you mean? Because the workout she was talking about is between her and another partner. And she was like, well, I felt like I could have done more reps. And I'm like, okay, well then did you say that with your teammates? Like, well, we decided upon this other thing, but I know I can put in more reps based on the time we were using. And just based on my capacity, I was like, okay, well then you should do that. If that equates to, if she can only do 7, but you can do 14, but they both take roughly 20 seconds each, then you should do those numbers. And she was like, well, I don't want to come across as overbearing or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, well then me as your unofficial coach, I'm going to tell you, if we're going to talk about this, I will make that command decision for you guys to make sure that you break the tie. I get it that you don't want to be an intrusive teammate to your other teammate and become overbearing, but someone has to be that leader. And she's like, all right. And I already told her, I was like, I'm going to be your guys' coach, whether you like it or not, because I can sense what you guys want to do. I want you to have fun, but there's also this part of being competitive and task focused, that if you need someone outside of the team, maybe like external coach or someone to just kind of help break the tie. What I mentioned, I was like, if you guys are all mad at me because I'm being the asshole and making you do more work, but you guys win, I will be that asshole. I'd rather you guys be unified against me versus maybe some tension between yourselves as teammates. And so same kind of concept applies both in the gym as well as in the office space. I'm like, understand your role within the team, but stay focused on the task. What are you supposed to be doing? Are you trying to win? Are you trying to develop a solution? Are you coming up with recommendations? Stay laser focused on that and making sure that you use some time. Somebody has to be more time bound. Give yourself only 2 hours. If you only have 2 hours, then you only have 2 hours. Do the best you can. And I believe you're going to actually make more progress because you're staying focused at hand, and someone is there helping facilitate the conversation and make some appropriate decisions. And then you can actually feel good that you're making progress as a team. And so definitely some hopefully that lesson learned kind of reflects for your Content Elevation audience out there. Lots of interesting stuff going on still at work. We're obviously hitting the summer transition because we're already talking about, so my boss is I think this is her last week. And so she's transitioning to my old stomping ground. So she's going to do great up there. And so, but I'm looking forward to, we got some brand new teammates coming in. It is what it is. We're going to lose we lose some great ones as well. It is what it is. I'm a definite believer in next man, next woman up, because we have some really, really good, strong teammates around us, and we have to get it done. And so I'm looking forward to becoming a leader, already growing more comfortable, like I've shared before, into my position here in A6O, and doing my best to make sure that we as a team succeed for the Air Force. So hopefully, if you guys you should be listening to this on the 4th of July weekend, so you all safe. My safety briefing to my team was, have a safe weekend. I expect all of you to come back next week with all 10 fingers and all 10 toes. So same safety briefing to you out in Content Elevation. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as this podcast, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, all that jazz. And again, have a safe weekend, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.